The topic that I chose for this week was who should be in charge of the copyright rules, enforcement, things like that at your school. I have a unique situation with being at a school outside of the U.S. Um, because we use American textbooks, and so technically we're under the American copyright laws, but we're living outside of the country, so we're under the Dominican copyright laws, and it's a little bit fuzzy of who, what should we do. It's more of an ethical thing than it is governed by the laws. So the other thing is when we arrived here, this was about 7 years ago, the school was they didn't have textbooks. They would just buy one textbook and then they'd make copies of it, things like that. The teachers just copied things online, different places that they could find things. They just make it, copy it, and give it to the students. Well, I became the person that stood up and said, this isn't right. We're expecting God to bless us, and we're expecting our supporters to be in favor of what we're doing here, and we're stealing this information. And so we really kind of looked into what we were doing. We redid a lot of our things, and we started purchasing textbooks and stopped making copies, things like that. So now the principal is in charge of kind of enforcing those rules and making sure that the teachers are not going outside of their limits on what they can copy, what they can use as far as that goes. The ethical and personal dilemmas kind of comes in for us. They're not, the laws aren't enforced here. Like, people on the street sell DVDs that are bootleg copied all the time, and there's not, it's very open here, and so we really have to go above and beyond with our enforcement of this, with the way that we conduct ourselves, so that people know that we are Christians and we want to do what's right. Another area that we get into trouble is translation of materials, because we have to translate materials sometimes. We always make sure that we get copies of that, the permissions from the authors before we translate any of their material. So those are just a few things that kind of came up this week as I was doing my studies and thinking about this topic of copyright. Thanks.